When people talk about Fortnite, they spend a lot of time talking about the build mechanics, or the consistent update schedule, or how incredibly the game is still free. People also talk up the hype of the season changes, like how the rocket's getting ready to blow up right now, or how the comet was going to come down before, or they talk about the tweaks to the weapons, or the new dances put in the game. Hell, people even talk about the people that are good at playing the game. But you know what people don't talk about? Okay, they do talk about it, but you know what people do talk about that I didn't list in the things above? That's right, it's the island. So today we're gonna give the island its due. What's up with it now? What was up with it then? It's a little segment we like to call Now and Then.
Then versus now.
Then versus now, right, okay, I got it. Let's just start. A whole school year ago, September 2017, that's when the map first showed up. I don't think many of us knew it was about to smack us right in the genitals when Fortnite released its 1.6 patch and announced a brand new game mode. That mode was, of course, Battle Royale, and it took a bare-bones framework of Save the World mode and slapped it on top of something that was almost problematically similar to PlayerUnknown's Battleground. But I digress. Let's focus on the map. In Battle Royale, like PUBG, you can press M to open up that map where you can see things like where you are, where the circles of death are, and you can mark locations that you think it might be nice to visit sometime. The map is smaller than PUBG's iconic Russian island, one that I won't try to pronounce. It's only 7 square kilometers with only 10 labeled locations. At the center of the map, or kind of close to the center of the map, is Loot Lake, with Pleasant Park to its northwest. Notice that it's surrounded by empty hills and fields at this point. If we go east from there, we get to the northernmost tile where Anarchy Acres is, same place it is today, with an unmarked Tomato Town south of it. Tomato Town wouldn't get a name until patch 1.7.1 a month later. On the northeast side of the map, there's the thick Wailing Woods next to the humble Lonely Lodge, pretty similar places with the fire tower and all that. If we go slightly west of center and south of there, we got Retail Row, and then the southeasternmost part of the map is Moisty Mire, in all its swampy glory. Center south is Fatal Fields, and southwest is Flush Factory, and last but not least, Greasy Grove in the west, where it's always been. Solid, standard. And while I went through that, you might have noticed a couple of locations that didn't show up at all, and that's because places like Dusty Depot and Salty Springs were like Tomato Town. They didn't have any names at this point, which is really strange. It feels like more alien than anything else, really, to think Salty Springs wasn't considered a fixture at this point, or Dusty Depot, So like I said, it's a month later and we got the 1.7.1 patch, and also like I said, iconic locations like Tomato Town, Dusty Depot, Salty Springs, now they've got their named locations on the map. Also, Tomato Town got a few buildings added to it, like that house that's next to it, the one that has more chest spawns than the entirety of Tomato Town, I think still to this day. Yeah, so that's there now, so Tomato Town is more viable, I guess now it's deserving of a name. But there were also a lot of crucial bug fixes too, like how trees used to float above the ground. Well, with this patch, they said they resolved it. They didn't resolve it. It took a few more patches as they gradually brought those trees closer to the ground. But you know what? Eventually, patch after patch, they brought those trees closer to the ground until they finally got it, just as God intended. Trees in the ground. Let's give them a round of applause, baby! Patch 1.8.2 lets you become part of the map with the legendary bush camouflage. Back then, it came in stacks of 2, so it was a little better in duo and squads, and it let you travel the map in stealth and style. And, at least for me, this was when Fortnite really started to stand out against PUBG. The bush added this fun, Fortnite-y feel that the art style had so far only been suggesting. And beyond that, it brought something unique to the game that PUBG, with its dystopian grounded setting, just couldn't have. Of course, Fortnite still had the build mechanics that are, really core to the game and therefore even more Fortnite-y than the bush. But if you played back in November, you might remember that people didn't really build that much, other than, to get on top of hills so they could look down and snipe people or whatever. See, this was back in the game when, if you saw someone shoot at you from behind a 1x1, you knew they were very, very good at the game. In mid-November, just a few days later, Epic added a set of stairs to the tunnel near Tomato Town. These are those stairs that allow you to get from the top of the hill to the bottom, as well as a new way for players to get down safely. When you're not comfortable, just swoop in under in your glider before you hit that secret wall to get those chests that are there sometimes. To say this was a significant change would be a stretch, but it still is one of those things that's hard to imagine not being in the game. Imagine the turtling nightmare that would be without those stairs. Especially if the storm circle was right on top of that. You can imagine somebody on top and bottom who just like won't die as they stand in that perfect center point. Because you couldn't even pickaxe your way down to them, you know? Then on the west side of the island, Epic swapped a few small shacks for larger ruined houses, which I thought was nice. I like dropping onto these very much back before we got Snobby Shore and Tilted in the game. They also adjusted those cliffs near Risky River to, I quote, incentivize players to use the bridges a bit more, which I don't think worked very well, because who like goes for the bridges? Like no one chooses to go over the bridge. You're always just like walking by and then you go over, knowing full well that some sniper is definitely trying to shoot you because it's like a really easy place to spot people as they cross the river. This was the last patch of Season 1, back before we even knew it was Season 1, when the rewards were great things like the Battle Pass icon or that glider that nobody wants. And this is the patch that gave us the beloved leaderboard, so that we could finally see how bad our kill-death ratios truly were. Epic also decided to rearrange all the bush locations across the island, as well as making their positioning universal across all systems. No longer would Xbox, PC, and PlayStation 4 players need to learn different foliage layouts, because I'm sure everybody memorized where every bush was on each of them. But let's get into Season 2. Season 2 was more sensible. It didn't have floating trees, or mismanaged bushes, or any garbage like that. It had a season pass with a cool skin at the end. So let's get into it. Let's go. Season 2, the holiday season. This is the first patch in Season 2, patch 1.11. And I want to take a second to point out that this could have been patch 1.0 or patch 1.1, but Fortnite threw that extra one in there just to be fun, and that's why I like this game. This is the patch that brought Survive the Holidays to Save the World mode, a Christmas winter kind of feel that lasted forever, and had a pretty cool survival horde mode that has reappeared with different skins a few times since. And while the island didn't get the snow treatment that Save the World mode did, it did get some jolly old changes for the holiday system. For one, the battle bus is now decked out in festive decorations, and its balloon is a giant, jolly, creepy Santa Claus. All across the island, bushes and trees were decorated with strings of Christmas lights, including the bush camouflage, which made it even more fun to aim down sights. Also, Christmas trees popped up all over the map, spawning 2 or 3 chests apiece, and they really changed up where people dropped. There was even a big tree in Wailing Woods, so people would actually drop there, because back then, Wailing Woods only had 3 possible chest spawns, and they were all in that tiny, awful maze that no one likes. Yeah, it was fun. Season 2 underway, and the holiday patch finally wrapping up a month later. See, I told you it was a long time. Patch 2.2 updated the map in very, very significant ways. It added Junk Junction. It added Haunted Hills. There was suddenly a Snobby Shores, and a Shifty Shafts with a whole underground part of it. And of course, Tilted Towers. As well as a bunch of other locations, like that football stadium with the pool in it that somebody drove a truck through in between Snobby Shores and Tilted Towers. That was added too, but it didn't have a name. And I want to take a second to talk about the conspiracy that is that truck that drove into that pool. There's no roads near there. I need answers. I wanted everybody to take a second to think about how crazy it is to think about the Fortnite map now, like without places like Yonder Yards or Tilted Towers or Haunted Hills. Like the map still has a good amount of space between locations, but nothing like it did before. And now when you're running through forests or fields or whatever, it really feels like you're going toward a point of interest and no longer just roaming through endless grasslands. This was a huge change to the game. I cannot state that clearly enough. It gave players a lot more options right off the bat, with Tilted Towers definitely being the biggest game changer so far. Maybe in the game entirely, not just in the map. And if you want to know more about that, some details about why Tilted Towers is a big deal and how much it influences the game, check out our Tilted Towers videos. I think it's pretty fun. But aside from those big changes, the 2.2 patch also gave the map a graphic overhaul, which showed off the island's different biomes instead of making it one big acid green field of grass that seared your retinas and make the game look bonkers ugly. It was Fort nuts. But now you've got some dark green grass and some normal green grass and some dried out almost green grass that looks like it could really use some rain, even though there's a storm with lethal amounts of rain every like 3 minutes. This change also really helped sell places like Moisty Mire, making it feel like really swampy and gross like my The foliage also got an upgrade. The grasses and bushes and stuff now like move when you run through them, so that's fun. And the water has an effect when you get out or get in it now. And also, fun fact, before patch 2.2, water blocked bullets and projectiles. So it was effectively like indestructible cover or something, which meant that if somebody got downed in the water, you couldn't kill them until they were revived or crawled out of the water, which why would you do? Because you're going to get shot the moment you crawl out of the water. And also, you know how it's kind of hard to see people when they're ducked and crouching through the water? Well, people used to duck and crouch and try to shoot people from back there. And, that was a mixed strategy because, while you couldn't hit their body, every hit you did get was pretty much guaranteed to be a headshot. But then again, back in January, we were all pretty collectively bad at the game, so, it's fine. Ammo boxes were also added to Dusty Depot, making it a better location to pass through, but still not really that much of a landmark. Like, it still didn't have that many chest spawns and didn't really have that many reasons to go there. And that kind of sucks. I always felt like if only Dusty Depot had a bigger claim to fame, something out of this world that would just really make players go to that spot of the map. But within the week, patch 2.3 added a bunch of loot spawns to Haunted Hills, making it the loot-laden location that we know it to be today, as well as added collision to pillars, so players could no longer hide inside them. See? There were a lot of dumb things in Fortnite back in the day. Epic also fixed that stadium in between Tilted and Snobby Shores to show the proper visual effects when you score a goal, which is good, because until then, it was literally unplayable. And actually back then, playing in soccer fields was relatively safe, because until patch 2.4, at the end of January 2018, soccer goals were registered as solid cover. It was in this patch that players could finally shoot through soccer goals. Then, in time for Valentine's Day and Lunar New Year, Epic introduced 6 thematic shrines hidden across the map. Shrines that players would point out and put on a quick image search within probably like a day. These shrines would have up to 3 chests in them, and it was like a symbolic love and peace companion to the consumerism and greed Christmas trees of the holiday patch. Though in both cases, people would pretty much murder each other to get at that loot, so I don't know what socio-political message Epic was trying to send with this one. Season 3, John Wick Season. At the end of the month, patch 3.1.0 dropped, and with it came Season 3, and from the southernmost shrine grew the town of Lucky Landing. And even though it was introduced during the Lunar New Year celebration, it now became a permanent addition to the map. With patch 3.4, vending machines appeared in many locations across the island. Each machine had and has a corresponding rarity with item costs relative to that rarity, making it not only pay to scavenge, but also allowing players who've been a bit down on their luck to get their edge back. Or at least that's the theory, because in most cases, if you have the resources to buy something good out of a vending machine, you're probably already geared up, and if you need an item out of a machine, you probably can't afford it. So vending machines are, well, they're sort of like, well, they're fun, like, I get it, but you know what I'm trying to say. You get what I'm trying to say. Another addition to the map that was getting a lot of players' attention was a little strange light at the very tippy top of the skybox. A blue comet floating high above the battlefield was filling many folks' mouths and posts with questions. Beautiful, beautiful questions. And Epic teased those players, adding effects like causing controllers to possibly rumble, making TVs found in the game flicker with distress signals, and producing coded audio message, all to create this big old buzz about what was going to happen with this comet. Near the end of the month, the comet was an even bigger threat, because as a precursor to the big blue one in the sky, a bunch of small meteors started to fall randomly during matches. The longer a match went, the more frequently they seemed to hit the ground. And while they would only do environmental damage, so players wouldn't be killed by the random environmental effects, they could still destroy structures, so, you could still take fall damage and all that. But I don't know, if I got hit by a 1 in a million shot from outer space, I don't think I could be mad. All that comet hype led to some pretty significant map changes, most importantly, Superhero Season. That's Season 4. Patch 4.0 brought us the biggest changes yet to Fortnite Battle Royale. The comet fell to the earth in several large pieces, causing massive craters, forever altering the landscape and bringing along with them hop rocks. The largest piece absolutely wrecked Dusty Depot, now known as Dusty Divot, instead of Tilty Towers, like many people had suspected. Other craters with hop rocks could be found all across the map, some in open areas, others in more contained ones, like the new Risky Reels, or the prison, or that one building in Tilted Towers that was destroyed. And speaking of Risky Reels, like, you know what Risky Reels is now, right? Yeah, of course you do. But back before 4.0, that wasn't even in the game. Same could be said for a couple other locations, like that mansion just below Lonely Lodge, or the skull face-like thing with the missile in it that's over near Snobby Shores, as well as a couple other bunkers, like I think there's one in Salted Springs even. Patch 4.2 introduced apples to the map for healing. These are nice. You can eat them, pop yourself up by 5 HP when you eat that dang thing. You can't carry them with you though, you gotta go run pick them up. Patch 4.3 turned shopping carts into writable items and added mushrooms for shields, similar to how apples work in 4.2. That's nice. Now you can get a mushroom and you get more shields. that's nice. That means if you eat 2 mushrooms, you can survive a body shot from a blue bolt action. That's great. That's wonderful. Patch 4.5 saw the rocket launch. You remember the rocket I mentioned that was in the skull thing that the villain had, Omega, near Snobby Shores? Well, it took off. It blew up and it crashed through some portals and ultimately created a big rift in reality itself. Fortnite is bleeding into our world. It's crazy. There's a Durr Burger in the California desert. That's the thing from Greasy Grove. What's it doing in California? That should be in the southwest corner of the map. A lot of players are speculating that with realities colliding, we could see a free release of Save the World mode. Or maybe it just means some time travel thing and we'll get like Egyptian pyramids and other stuff. And here's what just happened in patch 5.0. Season 5 came in like a freight train and brought a bunch of new changes to the map, all based around the rift kind of time travel-y teleportation angle that Season 5 seems to be based on. For one thing, the rifts on the map now allow for easy transportation around the island, so you can suck it, Tesla. And it's great that you can pop around the map through these rifts because there's a bunch of new locations to check out. The most obvious is that Moisty Mire has dried up into a straight-up desert. Now it's like this big orange-yellow thing once you hit the map key. You can't miss it. And that's awesome because I'd really like Fortnite to have every type of climate. Like Dusty Divot is kind of like a rainforest-ish right now, and that's awesome. Like the whole research station is now this ruin, and that's a lot more fun to search. And then on top of one of the islands in the southeast corner of the map near Greasy Grove, it's kind of like this Nordic thing. There's a bunch of snow, so that's also cool. I hope they keep pulling in all these climates. Specifically, Season 5 brought us the Floridian hellhole that is Paradise Palms and the Posh Country Club of Lazy Links. And in addition to those locations, we've got some random points of interest popping up on the map, like that Viking ship that's in that Nordic area that's got snow in July, or a bunch of ancient statues that are just littered all over the place. There's a bunch of really cool stuff going on with this whole Rift theme. And I don't know if this is all some time travel theme or some extra dimensional stuff, and I think that would be a perfect topic for a video that might come out very soon. Okay guys, let me level with you. I'm Peter. I'm the host. I do these Fortnite Friday things, and we gotta do these outros really fast because you guys keep killing our retention rates by skipping them even though I'm funny, goddammit. So here's the deal. Like the video, subscribe to the leaderboard, comment down in that comment section, hit that bell icon, and then if you want to get a chance to get a console, go to leaderboard.nyc/giveaway for a chance for that to come even to your house. So get a Sony, an Xbox, get a PlayStation, whatever you want. World's your oyster.